Incoming transmission.
Did Captain Kirk doom the galaxy when he exiled Khan to Ceti Alpha V? After listening to the first 4 episodes of Star Trek's new Khan audio drama, I think we need to talk about Kirk's decision. Greetings, Trekkies, Trekkers, Blurs, and Nerds. I'm Will, and welcome to another episode of Cine Nerd Presents Blur Trek. I think this is probably one of the most debated and consequential moments in all of Star Trek history. For many years, the story felt like it was set in stone. Kirk gave his would-be tyrant adversary a harsh but just sentence. Ever the humanist, he offered Khan a chance to build a new world from scratch, and Khan accepted the challenge. We know how that story ends, in fire and death, and with a scream of vengeance that echoes across decades. It's a tragedy, but it's always seemed like a straightforward one. A villain given a second chance, squanders it, and consumed by his own hate. But what if the story wasn't that simple? What if the story we've accepted for all this time is fundamentally incomplete? The new Star Trek Khan audio drama has arrived on Star Trek Day, and it is changing everything. Based on an unproduced story by Nicholas Meyer, the director of The Wrath of Khan, this isn't just a side story. And while its official place in canon is still up for debate, the series is clearly designed to fill the nearly 15-year gap between the episode Space Seed and the movie The Wrath of Khan. In this review, I'm going to break down the first 4 episodes and explore the shocking new dynamics, the heartbreaking revelations, and the complicated truths being unearthed. We'll explore how this series focuses us as the listener to re-examine the actions of everyone involved and poses a deeply uncomfortable question. The story we thought we knew about was about hubris and revenge, but actually it may be a story about catastrophic failure, shared blame, and a tragedy greater than we ever imagined. So, was leaving Khan on Ceti Alpha V a mistake? Let's find out. Now, as we turn to the first section here, the official story is a recap of Space Seed. Now, before we can get into this new audio drama, we have to remember what the story as it was. It all kicks off in 2267 when the USS Enterprise discovers a derelict sleeper ship, the SS Botany Bay, drifting in deep space. Inside, they find dozens of cryogenically frozen survivors of Earth's final global conflict, the eugenics wars of the 1990s. That was later retconned to sometime between 2020 and 2050 in Strange New Worlds. Their leader was awakened by Captain Kirk, and it is a man of superior intellect, cunning, and physical strength. He introduces himself as Khan. He is by any measure a living legend, a genetically engineered Superman who has conquered more than 1/4 of the planet. He was a warlord for sure, but his followers say and saw him as the best of the tyrants, ruling with an iron fist but without massacres or senseless cruelty. On board the Enterprise, Khan's charm and intelligence captivates the ship's historian, Lieutenant Marla MacGyvers. Infatuated with this history figure, she sees him not as a relic of a barbaric time, but as a misunderstood genius, a Napoleon, an Alexander the Great. And Khan, ever the opportunist, uses her feelings to his advantage. He learns the ship's systems, revives his followers, and in a swift and calculated move, tries to seize control of the Enterprise to start his second reign of conquest. Of course, he fails. Captain Kirk, through sheer grit and tactical smarts, outwits the Superman, and after a brutal fight in engineering, Khan is subdued. Now, Kirk faces a dilemma. What do you do with a man like Khan? He's too dangerous to imprison and too ambitious to rehabilitate, so Kirk makes him an offer. He calls it a marooning, but with a twist, not a punishment. And a challenge. He takes the Enterprise to Ceti Alpha V, which is an untamed but habitable world, a place where Khan and his people, including the now disgraced Marla MacGyvers, who chooses exile over a court-martial, can build their own society. A world to tame, a kingdom to build. He challenges Khan to prove that his vision for a society led by superior beings can actually work. To build a utopia, Khan famously asks Kirk if he's ever read Milton, and for decades, that's where the story was left. Kirk made a compassionate, if risky, choice. The tragic outcome, the death of MacGyvers, the destruction of the planet, and Khan's roaring revenge in The Wrath of Khan was seen as Khan's failure alone. His hubris, his rage, his inability to accept defeat, these were the seeds of his own destruction. Kirk gave him a paradise, and Khan turned it into a hell. That was the official story, until now. Now, as we turn to Section 2, The New Revelations, A Paradise Lost, the new Star Trek Khan audio drama, penned by Kristen Beyer and David Mack from Nicholas Meyer's story, doesn't just add detail, it completely reframes this period. The narrative is presented through a clever framing device. Years after The Wrath of Khan, in 2296, a historian named Dr. Rosalind Lear petitioned Starfleet to travel to the desolate Ceti Alpha V. Her mission is to find the historical logs recorded by Marla MacGyvers, believing that they contain a more complex truth. Guiding her in this mission is a reluctant Captain Sulu, and at the helm, who is at this point captain of the USS Excelsior. And he is, of course, carrying not only the scars of his encounters with Khan in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, but also the loss of Captain Kirk, who had presumably died on the Enterprise B a few years prior in 2293, in the events we saw in Star Trek Generations. He is joined by a young Ensign Tuvok, who provides a logical but inexperienced perspective. Now, this structure lets the story be both a historical record and a present-day mystery. And what a history it is. The first episode in the audio drama is fittingly titled Paradise. It opens not with a despair, but with boundless optimism. We hear Khan, voiced with compelling mix of charisma and intensity by lost actor Naveen Andrews, not as a raving madman, but as a visionary leader. He stands before his people on a lush, vibrant world and inspires them. He doesn't command through fear, he leads with a vision. Marla MacGyvers, voiced but with incredible depth by Ren Schmidt, is our main window into this world. She no longer just serves as the love-struck historian, she's an active participant, the colony's chronicler, and as her time in exile unfolds, she becomes Khan's partner. She ultimately believes in the project and in him, and the early days are filled with hope. They're cataloging plants and animals, planning settlements, and celebrating their first pregnancy in the colony. But the audio drama immediately shows cracks in this perfect picture. One of the most tragic new revelations that we learned in the audio drama adds a horrifying new layer to the eugenics wars. And we learn that from the colony's doctor. We learned that the female augments were intentionally sterilized by their creators. Now, this to me seems to be a very misogynistic choice, as the male augments are fully fertile. And this single piece of information recontextualizes many things of Khan's mission. His desire to build a civilization isn't just about power, it's about survival. His people are a dying race, and Marla MacGyvers, a fertile human woman, isn't just his partner, but possibly the only hope they have for a future. The drama handles this with chilling nuance when Marla herself confronts Khan, accusing him of seeing her as a broodmare, and he doesn't deny it. Now, as we turn to Section 3, I want to talk about the trials of Ceti Alpha V. Now, the second and third episodes, Scheherazade and Do Your Worst, track how this paradise begins to fall apart. The planet itself, while beautiful, is no Eden. It's full of dangers. There are predators like alien boars that cause the colony's first casualties. They also learn that Ceti Alpha V during this time period is very unstable. And then there are the Ceti Ills. The introduction of the Ill is a masterclass in audio horror. We just don't see them like we do in the movie. We actually experience their terror. We learn how they have a complex life cycle and how their larvae have a neurotoxin that drives their victims mad. One of Khan's men, Richter, becomes infected. He grows paranoid, he hallucinates, and the scenes of his descent into that madness are genuinely disturbing, culminating in a moment of profound tragedy when Khan, seeing his friend lost to that agony when he can't find a cure, is forced to mercifully kill him to end his suffering and then hopefully find a cure. The balancing of Khan's compassion and his ruthlessness brings to life his leadership, style, and also moral character. Similar to previous episodes, we see how much the people care for him and how much he cares for his people. We also see the lengths that he will go to survive the harsh reality of Ceti Alpha V. This is a different Khan from the one-dimensional villain we know. This is a leader making impossible choices, bearing the weight of his people's lives on his shoulders. Naveen Andrews' performance is key here. He capturing the Shakespearean quality of a man of immense pride and intellect, brought low by fate. In one interview, Andrews said that he would like to show a more human, flawed Khan, and this is exactly what comes across. We hear his pain as he loses his people, his frustration at his own powerlessness, and his growing resolve to fight back. As external threats mount, so do internal ones. We do see Khan's leadership, once inspiring, begin to show that autocratic roots that we are very familiar with. He makes decisions alone, and when he marches into the wilderness to hunt for the missing Richter, some see it as heroic, others see it as reckless. The unity of their early days begins to fray. The dream of a perfect society built by perfect beings begins to crumble under the weight of the hunger, the fear, and the death that surrounds them all. Marla MacGyver's becomes the heart of this conflict. She is the voice of empathy, reminding Khan of the human cost of his choices. The second episode, Scheherazade, is named for her. Like the fabled queen who told stories to save her life, Marla recites the tale to Khan and his followers, a subtle, powerful parallel to her own precarious position, trying to hold on to her own influence and humanity in the court of a very powerful and volatile man. So, if you're enjoying this breakdown of the history of Khan, make sure to like and also subscribe for more Star Trek analysis here on the channel. I go deep into the lore, review some of the latest shows, and explore many of the philosophical questions that has made this franchise endure for many, many years. So, now as we turn to Section 4, I want to talk about the weight of the legacy and the verdict. The fourth episode, titled Magical Thinking, brings the central question of this series into sharp focus. In framing the story, we hear a debate between Dr. Lear and Ensign Tuvok. Lear, having listened to MacGyver's logs, having trouble accessing the late Captain Kirk's logs, and offers a radical theory that Captain Kirk and then later the crew of the Reliant were either negligent for not doing a better job of scanning the system to see that Ceti Alpha VI was unstable, and also that the crew, whenever they did the survey for the Genesis planet, did not realize that it was gone, or worst, Kirk knew that Ceti Alpha VI was unstable, and that it was going to explode, and he intentionally exiled Khan and his people to a world that would ultimately become a death trap. Tuvok logically objects. He defends the late captain, arguing Kirk was a man of principle who would not commit such an atrocity. The conversation forces us as the audience to confront the possibility that the official story isn't just incomplete, but a deliberate lie to protect the hero's reputation. The audio drama doesn't give a definitive answer in these first few episodes, but it does lay out the evidence in a way that makes Lear's accusation terrifyingly plausible. So, let's go back to the central question. Was leaving Khan on Ceti Alpha V a mistake? Based on these first four episodes, the answer is far, far more complex than a simple yes or no. The audio drama powerfully argues that the tragedy of Ceti Alpha V was not the single failure, but a cascade of them. Was it a mistake for Kirk to leave him there? If he was unaware of the planet's instability, his decision could be seen as a calculated, even noble risk, a chance for a culture of warriors to become builders. But if Lear's suspicions are correct, and Kirk did know about the imminent doom, then it wasn't a mistake. It was a death sentence. It would be an act of staggering cruelty that would make him indirectly responsible for dozens of deaths, including Marla MacGyver's, and would directly lead to the events of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and then including the deaths of Spock, and later his own son in Star Trek III. And of course, many others were lost as well. It would transform him from a flawed hero into the architect of the very monster who came back to destroy him. But the audio drama doesn't let Khan off the hook either. We see how his pride and authoritarian nature contribute to the colony's downfall. His refusal to admit weaknesses, his dismissal of the dangers, and his increasingly tyrannical grip all play a part. He is presented as Nicholas Meyer intended, a tragic hero, a man with the potential for greatness who is undone by both his own flaws and circumstances that he cannot control. The story becomes a Greek tragedy where destiny and character are hopelessly intertwined. Ultimately, the mistake wasn't just leaving Khan on Ceti Alpha V, potentially. The mistake was probably maybe Starfleet's and humanity's simplistic understanding of the augments themselves. They weren't just villains. They were a people with a history, with hopes, and with a tragic past of their own. The mistake was Kirk's belief that you could just drop a complex society onto a planet and walk away. Assume the best. It was a failure of empathy, a failure to do homework, and a failure to recognize that the seeds of vengeance are often not sown by malice, but by negligence. So, in conclusion, Star Trek Khan is more than just a prequel. It's a powerful retelling that completely reframes one of Star Trek's most important stories. Through masterful sound design, compelling performances from Naveen Andrews and Ren Schmidt, it transforms a simple story of good versus evil into a complex, heartbreaking tragedy. It gives voice and agency to characters like Marla MacGyver's and Khan's followers, who were previously little more than plot devices. More importantly, it complicates our heroes and humanizes our villains, forcing us to ask uncomfortable questions about legacy, responsibility, and justice. The series isn't finished, but the trajectory is pretty clear. It's charting the course of how a visionary leader, broken by loss and betrayal, becomes a man consumed by a singular burning desire for revenge. Nicholas Meyer definitely wanted us to see that in this story. He wanted people to see in this series a different version of Khan, a more nuanced story. But based on these 4 episodes, we are so far getting his wish. The lines have been blurred. The official story has been shattered, and the legacies of James T. Kirk and Khan Noonien Singh will never look the same again. So, what do you think? Has this new audio drama changed your view of Khan or of Kirk? Was this just a sentence that went horribly wrong, or a calculated act of cruelty from the very beginning? Share your thoughts below. With 5 more episodes to go in this 9-part series, we're only halfway through Khan's journey on Ceti Alpha V. Episodes 5 through 9 will be dropping on Mondays, weekly through November 3rd, and if the first half is any indication, we're in for a incredible story that bridges the gap between the Space Seed and the Wrath of Khan. Performances from Neve Andrews and Ren Schmidt have been absolutely stellar, and with George Takei and Tim Russ hopefully having more appearances, there's many more things to unpack in Nicholas Meyer's story. So, are you as hooked on this series as I am? Drop your thoughts again in the comments below. I'd love to hear from fellow Trek fans about these deeper dives into the canon. And if you are enjoying our Blood Trek reviews and want to stay up to date with all our Star Trek coverage, hit that subscribe bell, ring the notification bell, and again, before you leave this video, hit the like button. I've got more Strange New World reactions coming up for seasons 4 and 5. We also have Starfleet Academy coming up early next year, and we'll be back to break down the remaining episodes of Star Trek Khan. So until next time, keep exploring strange new worlds, and we will see you in the next episode of Scene and Nerd Podcast presents Blur Trek. Live long and prosper.